Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the AGNI Titans Rendezvous. This evening, we have a very fascinating titan, a diva, a kaleidoscope of amazing talents. She is Bangkok's first Indian ballerina, creative artist, poet and writer, dancer and choreographer, visual performing artist, a mindful healing practitioner. And all this actually began at the age of 6 when she got initiated into our Indian art forms of Bharatanatyam and the Kathak. It is then her fascinating journey began into the realm of creative arts. Check this out.
Love. Love is an all-powerful force, an all-giving force, often misunderstood, often fleeting. Its foundation of ultimate significance, reaching a higher consciousness. Blessed are those who receive that heartfelt love without the burden of expectation. Blessed are those who share their power, their love, the love that never considered giving up. The legacy that she leaves behind, her love. It's that love, her love, which makes her unique. I think creativity really comes out when you challenge yourself.
Aarti Saikia, welcome to the AGNI Titans Rendezvous. And thank you so much for being here this evening.
My pleasure, Mr. Anand. Thank you so much for having me there.
It is wonderful, wonderful talking to you. I know so much about you, and I would love the viewers to know more than I do about you this evening. Before we begin your journey into the creative arts, something that has fascinated you from the age of 6, I'm aware that you also spent a lot of time in the professional field before you got into the arts. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. So actually my professional life began at the age of 19 when I started working with leprosy affected individuals in Delhi, in India. And I was working on women's development and sustainable livelihoods in leprosy colonies. So this was my first experience in social development in the field, and from there I progressed to working with the UNHCR, that's the High Commissioner for Refugees in Delhi, and I was working on sustainable livelihoods and counseling of refugees and social development, bringing in a lot of socio-economic aspects to their well-being, and working on resettlement. And it was a beautiful journey again, working with refugees. Post UNHCR, I moved on to working at the Food and Agriculture Organization of the UN, FAO, in Rome, in Italy.
All right.
And this is the headquarters of FAO in Rome. And here I was working on the livelihood support program, And I was also working on the ad hoc group for persons affected, um, disabled, and differently abled people. So this was my stint with the United Nations. This was what I was really working on, and also since I specialized in human rights. So all the aspects of social development were focused on the rights of the individual, be it women, be it vulnerable groups, be it children.
So this would have been a very amazing and a very fascinating journey. How would you describe this in terms of you as a woman involved in such a huge escapade of work?
I think these experiences of mine working in the field, working at a headquarter level, working with vulnerable groups, refugees, it really opened up a different perspective for me. It opened up, really going deep into the nuances of what social development really implies. What is the condition of these women or leprosy affected people or refugees? What are the conditions that they work or they live in, and how we as a society, how we perceive them, how we look upon them, and what can be really done to bring them into the mainstream society, because these are all marginalized groups that I worked with.
Okay.
So this really challenged perspectives in terms of what does it imply to be empathetic to these groups, or what does it imply to really bring them into mainstream. So it really widened my perspective. I think it made me more sensitive to their cause, and sensitive to the cause of development and sustainable development.
Yes, that's exactly what I have in my mind, because I think as an artist, one really has to have a very deep connection between the mind, the body, and the soul, and a lot of your metaphysical nature and thinking to develop or to even create amazing expressions will come from experiences like this, where you get very down to the grassroots levels of human.
Absolutely.
I think that
Absolutely.
must be an amazing experience for you. Now, moving on from here is what everyone's waiting to know: is how did you get finally from this wonderful space into an even more creative and exciting space, your realm of creative arts?
Right. So as you mentioned at the start of our conversation, my journey with the creative art, with dance, started at the age of 6, when I had an opportunity to study at the prestigious Kalakshetra Academy in Chennai.
Ah, all right.
So, my experience, even though it was at the age of 6, it opened up a different perspective on art and, dance as a style of presentation and a style of expression. So for me, dance was always, and art was always a parallel to my social development or my work with the UN. I was always dancing. I trained in Bharatanatyam to start with, Kathak. And I was always into sketching and writing through my school, through my university and things. But professionally, I was able to give it a different showcase, if I can use this word, in Thailand. I have been able to professionally expand, what I call a creative expansion happened for me in Thailand. I got several opportunities to be able to really bring it out in the way you see it now.
Yes. No,
So
one of the things that really fascinated me about your creative expression is the amount of innovation that has been plowed into it. And this reminds me of one of our previous guests, Astad Devu, who was a Padma Shri awardee. And I remember way back in 1980, 81, when I saw it the first time, I realized the expression would ruffle up a lot of our traditional pundits, but he excelled in flying colors eventually, and that sort of convinced me that any form of art, if it doesn't have a natural innovation from the artist himself or herself, it just becomes another. Just another piece of art which almost everyone copies or gets into. So that's one thing that really has always fascinated me about your work. It is so refreshingly different from previous performances, so to speak. Right? How do you manage to bring so much innovation into your work?
I believe, I sincerely believe that creativity really comes out when you challenge yourself. And, one thing is you're challenging yourself, your perspectives, your emotions, and you're also in the process challenging what already exists. So, it's like finding a third place where you have and it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a creativity, as you would be aware, is a process of learning, of growth,
Yes.
and challenges and stumbling blocks. But
Yes.
this is where those innovations happen.
Yes.
They happen when you don't really expect it.
Right.
And I think I always try to link up my creative arts and my creative expressions with sustainability.
Oh, awesome.
What really holds the arts, and
Yes.
how the arts can move ahead in a sustainable way.
Right.
So somewhere, Mr. Anand, I always go back to the intention. If you have the right intention, then the actions that follow kind of build on those intentions. It
Yes.
builds on, and pleasantly, the outcome is always something unique.
Yes.
So that's where those innovations happen.
Yes. I wanted to ask you one more question on the innovation end. Um, Obviously, you are a very busy wife and mother, right? And for an artist, the biggest joy in life for him or her is when she or he's left alone to do what he or she wants to do with her creative expressions. But I mean, if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. So, so obviously, a lot of your creativity would get influenced by your surroundings. So, how much does all this, whether it be happy moments or turbulent moments, affect your or influence your creative expressions?
I mean, obviously, there is a reality which you just explained. So there is a reality of a day-to-day schedule, a day-to-day, all the activities of a household and everything. But somehow, again, like I mentioned, if your intention is strong enough, if you
Yes.
really feel that you have what is inside you, and you can challenge, and you can put in that much energy,
Yes.
then it flows. It really flows,
Yes.
and definitely I always recommend individuals to take time out for themselves, to have their own space, even in a busy schedule. Whether you're an artist or not, I think it's very important for individual development
Yes.
to have a space, to have some reflection, to be able to create.
Yes. Yes.
And art is everywhere. You create at all points, but you just have to be very aware of where you want to put your attention, where you
Yes.
want to focus.
Yes.
So I think I am quite disciplined, really, with where my attention should go
Yes.
and how I should channelize my creativity.
Yes. There's a lot I must learn from you, because as an artist myself, a painter myself, when I'm very relaxed, I'll probably do a very beautiful Buddha. And if I'm agitated, I'll probably do a Shiva doing the Tandar Nitya. So it all depends on how we influence. But I like what you said, that no matter what the challenges are, you have to give yourself space before you start your creative expressions and bring out that beautiful natural form that is so much required when you are in that space. But I believe you have another very beautiful space, and I must talk about this. You are an amazing poet. And you are a revered poet, just not a poet who's a poet for the sake of being a poet, but a lot of people are very fascinated with your poems. And I believe you have what is called the poetry in motion, and you have what is called poetry in art. Why don't you tell us about this?
Right. Why don't I just show you
Oh yes, of course.
poetry in motion, right?
Yes.
Because the thing is, we really have, again, this is one of these spheres, spaces in which I am able to experiment with spoken words, with language, and with movement. You know, what really is poetry in motion? When we talk of movement, when we talk of a dance between words, like, what really does it imply? So,
Yeah.
if I may,
Yeah.
dear uncomfortable soul, you are crafted with beauty and purpose. It's a lie that you don't matter. You are beautiful and bruised, known and unknowable. There is infinite pleasure in the touch of your hand, joy in the portrait that you create, and you kiss the joy as it flies. There is some method in all the madness, a sense of inner expansiveness, a sense that you belong, a sense of the beginning of the journey to yourself. Dear uncomfortable soul, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good. Dear uncomfortable soul, now that you don't have to be perfect, you can be good.
Oh.
Thank you.
Lord, that was wonderful. I lost myself completely in your expression, and this is the first time actually I am seeing a poet gesturing every emotion that has been composed in those wonderful lines of yours. I am absolutely floored, Aarti, absolutely floored. And I'm so
Quite too kind. Thank you.
all our viewers will be equally floored. This is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Beautiful. Now, when we come back to, like I mentioned to you earlier, that there's a lot of viewers here who would love to slide into your shoes. Right? And that is pretty much common because you've had this wonderful spin of taking your art to a place like Thailand and impressing a very large setup, including now on a global level, people who actually have begun to realize that there is something that is that can be formed out of a very basic art of Kathakali and Bharatanatyam, which I think is a very plausible thing that you've done. In this journey, must have been a very, very tumultuous journey, I'm sure. What were the challenges that you faced, and how did you really overcome them? Is there any specific incident you'd like to talk about?
So, I mean, of course, I started with Bharatanatyam and Kathak. In Bangkok, I moved on to classical ballet, Spanish flamenco, and contemporary choreography. So this for me was a turning point, I have to say, because ballet is not really popular with Indians.
Yes.
And
yes.
it is a very specific style of dance, and I was starting from scratch. So in a sense, there was nothing I had to unlearn. I had to only learn from the very basics.
Ah, okay.
Right. So and this for me was very demanding, but extremely fulfilling, because there comes a point when you feel, really, I did this, I
Yes,
can do
yes,
this.
yes.
So
Is
this
this really
is
me? That's
yes.
what it is.
Yes.
Yes.
And it's I have to admit that, like I said, it was starting from the ABC of ballet, as a young mother, as a mother of two young children.
Yes.
So you can imagine there is a physical demand, but there is something that is so passionate in me to pursue the art form,
Yes.
that it kept me going. I still remember starting with one ballet class a week to 5 days a week ballet. So,
Right.
this you can just see, and I saw for myself the learning, the growth,
Yes.
I mean, it was tremendously challenging, but like I said, I couldn't be creative if I couldn't challenge myself. This was one of the very key turning points in my artistic life,
Right.
and how it and what followed was me getting into performance arts, me doing theater productions.
Right.
So, a stage life was another different thing.
Right. Okay. So that must have been quite a journey altogether.
Yes. And
Yes.
of course, you have broken bones when you are dancing, and so you come out of all these kind of things,
Yes.
but
Yes.
you go on and on. Yes.
Yes, yes, and yes. But when you talk about broken bones, I had once met an artist here in the north of India, in Delhi, and when she finished the performance at the Kamani Theatre, she came out limping, and I was amazed, and I said, Kaushalya, how are you? Why are you limping? She says, I snapped my ankle just an hour before the performance, but the show must go on. And
Absolutely, absolutely.
that is passion. That is passion. That is dedication.
That
So
is passion,
my
and that is discipline. I think you need a lot of discipline
yes,
to
yes.
be able to pursue this kind of
Yes,
things.
yes.
Yes.
And now, Aarti, my final question to you is, there are, like I said, many hopefuls watching you right now. What would be your advice or your inspirational statement for them to not get discouraged, but to pursue so doggedly the way you did your realm of creative art?
I think, I mean, of course, with due respect to everyone's journey and everyone's path, I think I always go back to the intention. I always believe very sincerely, if you have the right intentions in what you want to pursue,
Right.
then and with the passion and with some dedication, you will always get the actions, and you will always be directed in the right course.
Right.
So, and of course, it's quite interesting that you require a lot of discipline to be able to have the freedom to do what you want to do.
Yes.
So it's not discipline and freedom is actually doesn't contradict each other. It is complementary.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I would always encourage people to have the good intentions and have a good attention and focus what
Yes.
you really want to do, because
Okay.
there is a lot of distraction. So how do you
Yes.
really focus?
Yes.
And to have a discipline, a determination, and to also enjoy the little achievements. You know,
Yes.
everything doesn't have to be too big and too large, but little
Correct.
achievements, the
Correct.
little joys of life, the little enjoyment in the process that
Yes.
you are doing and
Yes.
working on is very fulfilling.
Yes.
It's the
Yes.
process that gets fulfilling, actually.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. I agree with you 100% over there, Aarti, because I also would like to add in what you're saying, from an example from what I've noticed from your creative expressions is, we also must bring in a touch of innovation, because it's the level, the intensity of the innovation that actually shows the passion of the artist. Because unless you're not passionate about what you're doing, you can't innovate. You'll be just doing what is normal, what everyone else does. But I think sort of innovation that you have brought in to your work, which is so highly appreciated globally, is a reflection of your passion. Am I right?
Yes, and to add to that, I have to say that, you know, it's not as if there is no fear. It's not as if you will not face failures or you, but you know, when those are the moments where you have to ride the horse,
Yes.
even if you are afraid, take the jump, because you
Yes.
never know what you discover. This is the thing.
Yes, absolutely.
To be a risk
Absolutely.
taker, I think you have to be a risk taker.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Aarti. Thank you so
Thank
much
you so much.
for being on the show with us. And I am sure all the viewers would have by now become absolutely motivated and inspired to chase their dreams in the field of art.
I'm
Thank you
very
so much.
grateful. Thank you so much. And my greetings from Bangkok.
Ah, yes, and our sincere greetings, not only from Bangalore, but also from India.
Yes.
thank,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this was your evening with the AGNI Titans Rendezvous. And before Aarti and I say goodbye, here's a little piece she has sent us just for you. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.